Lucky, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, and I hope you're hearing me loud and clear.
So we're in the middle of a state of emergency. How does that grab you?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that as early as Sunday evening and into Monday, when I actually got the documentation because I wanted to verify, there was that level of confusion because you had persons who were holding high office and who were holding themselves out as understanding the state of emergency, referring to it as a limited state of emergency, and the graphics being carried on by the various media houses, and I'm not disrespecting them, I'm saying they too were carrying what was being said verbally, limited state of emergency. And when I actually looked at the proclamation and the documentation that was attached to it, I made the point that it was not a limited state of emergency, but rather a state of emergency throughout the entire Twin Island Republic. And it was just in the specified areas that were deemed hotspots that there was this curfew of 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. That has all been sorted out now. Many people will say it's water under the bridge. I also want to say quite openly, Dominic, that too, Justice Commission, one of the views expressed, me being a member by the entire CJC, was that, and this is 2 years ago, was that the crime situation was getting out of control. We were hearing names like Mr. Big. We were hearing that the police knew who the gang members were and who the gang leaders were. And therefore, with detection rates falling, crime increasing, the suggestion had been made by that committee, and certainly I have been a strong advocate for the imposition of a state of emergency. So that having been said, yes, one can understand with the crime situation as it is, with detection rates moving now from 22% 2 years ago down to 12% and 14%, totally and wholly unacceptable that the government has to resort to what is considered a very critical tool in the fight against crime. Mind you, it is a drastic measure, and it is this state of emergency.
Given that our constitutional and democratic rights are suspended during a state of emergency, would someone be incorrect in interpreting, being told that it's a limited state of emergency, interpret that as being deliberately misled?
I wouldn't say, when you say that something has been a result of being deliberately misled, there's the word deliberate there in the legal connotation, and certainly with me being with the criminal law background, it suggests a level of malice, willful and deliberate intention. And I don't think it was anything that was willful or willfully malicious, if I might put it that way.
But Ms. Lucky, these are smart people. It is the Prime Minister who's speaking. It's not a common person on the street. Even today, addressing a function at Chancery Lane in San Fernando, she referred to it as a limited state of emergency. That makes the citizens feel that not all of their rights are suspended.
Yeah, and I would say to you, Dominic, that you are in fact correct when you say that the use of the phraseology limited state of emergency suggested something much lighter and something that was not as extensive as what the reality is. And it is very unfortunate that persons, and I've been quite open about it, that persons who were stating what we were undergoing or would be undergoing as a country didn't get the phraseology right, or certainly didn't explain it in a way that people will understand. It is only today, when there was a clear level of, or a lack of understanding, that we got some level of clarity. But to me, having read the document, it was clear that we were the entire country was under state of emergency, but certainly that had not been transmitted to the country, because I was one of those, I must admit, didn't get it right having heard it, but got it right after reading it.
Okay, let's get to another point. The Police Service Commission said today that due to the lack of proper procedures and protocol, the Police Service Commission had no prior opportunity to make the appointment of the Deputy Commissioner Williams to act as Commissioner for the time that Gibbs had been out of the country. And it quotes the regulation, and it mentioned that the Police Service Commission has again observed that a legal notice 164, the Emergency Powers Curfew Order 2011, has been issued under the hand of Deputy Williams, purporting to be acting as Commissioner of Police. And then the Attorney General presents a letter dated today and signed by the head of the commission that he had been appointed apparently today. What does that say about the legality of the curfew laws yesterday?
Okay, Dominic, I have to really be careful in answering this question. As you know, I am the director of the Police Complaints Authority, and when I looked at the footage on TV6 a little earlier to this particular interview, I heard the Police Service Commission suggesting that they are going to give the two parties, that being the Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner, a chance to explain themselves. And I know your specific question, what is the legality?
Well, you see, I'm trying to determine, to get help in having the audience determine whether Mr. Williams' appointment on the 28th, he was appointed on the 23rd, then perhaps he did not have the authority to sign the curfew order of the 22nd.
And that would be something that now has to be determined, because you're right, when the curfew would have been implemented, the question that has to be answered now is, did we have an acting commissioner of police? Because according to the power with respect to the regulations and so, that has to be issued by the commissioner of police, and if he's not here, of course, an acting commissioner of police. But there seems to be, when I was looking at the interview of the Attorney General and the other information carried on the newscast, there seems to be, again, a level of chaos and confusion. When were letters signed, when were letters sent? And I think now we need to get some verification and confirmation before I would be prepared to answer that question.
Still, if action were taken based on the curfew laws, could those actions be deemed illegal?
If there was,
actions were taken yesterday.
Sure. If a person has to have the authority or hold the office that carries with it the power to make those particular orders. I'm speaking now about the curfew. And if there was not a proper substantive holder of that office, then the issue of legality arises. But I'm saying we don't have all the information. Clearly, there's a level of confusion even on that, and I would like to get certain issues clarified before I go forward to make any determination on the issue.
You heard the Attorney General address the issue on TV6 earlier. Was it satisfactory in your mind?
In my mind, the Attorney General seems to want to get more information. I would rather put it this way, if I might, quite boldly again saying it. I know we use this phrase, it is unfortunate, it has become a cliche in the country, but I would say it this way. A state of emergency is a very drastic action in which there is little or no room for error. It is an action that when it is taken, everything has to be properly put in place, not only the logistics, but also the documentation, and the relevant office holders who will be playing critical roles have to be on board and have to be properly informed and make sure that they are not only up to the task, but their papers are in order, there is a necessity for papers, and that they understand their responsibilities and more so the authority that they have. It would therefore be very unfortunate, I'm saying it's a cliche phrase, but it would be very unfortunate if these things were not properly worked out. It will not be the first time in Trinidad and Tobago that we have had instances in which we have embarked on, for example, commissions of inquiry, and then subsequently realized that proper documentation had not been followed through, and there was a level of great embarrassment.
Gillian Lucky, Head of the Police Complaints Authority and Attorney at Law. Thank you.